You're listening to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe of Torch in Houston, Texas. This is the Jewish Inspiration Podcast.
Welcome back, my dear friends, to day number 132 on page 746 in the Treasure for Life edition of the Orchot Tzadikim, The Ways of the Righteous, in the Gate of Flattery. A person should flatter his wife. A person should flatter his wife. Mishum shalom bayit, to preserve household harmony. Just this afternoon, we just recently started a new lunch and learn in the gallery area, and we were talking about whether or not, why so many relationships go awry. And I said because people don't know how to properly convey their appreciation, their admiration. They don't know how to compliment. They don't know how to be genuine. So the guy says, yeah, but what's if I need to compliment my wife, but I don't feel it? I said, fake it till you make it. And today, look at that. Look at that. We open up today, day number 132, and the Orchot Tzadikim says, you need to flatter your wife. Flatter your wife. Tell her how delicious her cooking is, and tell her how beautiful her dresses are, and how incredible of a person she is. And these are things that a person needs to do to preserve their relationship. That doesn't mean you have to lie. There's a dispute in the Talmud whether or not one tells the bride, Kala na'ava chasuda, you tell her that she's beautiful, or you say Kala kamais shehi, you tell it to her the way it is. So, but that's cruel. You tell her the way it is. One says, okay, you tell her that she's very beautiful. She's the bride. You tell her she's so beautiful. What's if she's not? If she's not, our sages tell us, you're not looking with the right pair of eyes. Every person's got beauty. Every person is refined in a different area. Every person has something special and unique. If you can't find something good, you're looking with the wrong pair of glasses. You need to be able to find. It's not that she's so beautiful. You need to be able to see the beauty in another person. And that's, I believe, how we explain this right here in our chapter of Flattery, page 746. One should flatter his wife. Don't lie. Find the good. Mean it. Say it. To preserve household harmony. Lebal chovo shelo yilchatzenu, lerabo shilamdu Torah. He says different people, you owe somebody money, to your creditor, you can say nice things so that he doesn't press you for the money. To a teacher, so that he teaches you Torah. The mitzvah gedola lahachnil flatalmida v'lechaverav shelo shkedei shel v'yishmu l'dvar l'kabel tochachto l'kayim hamitzvos. He says a rabbi should flatter his students. A rabbi should flatter his students so that they learn Torah from him, and that they listen to his teachings, and they accept his reprimand, and they observe the mitzvahs. V'chein l'chol adam shuhu savar shiyim shechenu elav sheyishma lo l'kayim hamitzvos. Any person that you can influence and teach them the right way to live life, you should flatter them so that they connect and become close to you. V'im yavo alav bikas lo yishma lo elo b'chanifus yikabel b'tochachto mitzvah gedol lahachniflo. And if you know, obviously, to most people, if you come to them with anger and you say, what you did is terrible, right? Said nobody's going to listen. But what happens if you tell them, you're such a fine person, I'm so impressed that you, and by the way, with your children, this is the same, okay? I was giving a parenting class recently, and I was telling the parents, you see, sometimes parents get so caught up in parenting, they forget to love their children. And the truth is that we need to find a way to find the good in your child, that where they shine, and put all the bright lights on it. Find the thing they're good at. I'll tell you an amazing story. There was a student in a school that was doing miserably in class. Every teacher would kick the student out, say, I can't handle it. It's like a Mark. You know what I'm talking about, right? Right? Say he couldn't, nobody could handle the student. Couldn't handle him. One teacher kicked him out. They moved him to the next parallel class. The next teacher kicked him out. He was misbehaving in every class. Finally, the last of the grade of the parallel classes, the most patient rabbi, the most patient teacher, is at wit's end. He says, "Go to the principal's office. I can't have this anymore." The principal realized that this child probably needs a pick me up. He needs a boost. So he tells the child. He says to him, sits him down nicely at the table, and he says to him, "Tell me, what are you good at?" He says, "Nothing." He says, "There has to be something that you're really good at." And he starts thinking maybe, finally the kid says, Oh, I'm the best in my class in climbing trees. I can climb the tree the fastest. He says, "Ooh, that's really special. Okay, that's that little light. Shine a bright light on it." So he says, "What else? Is there something else?" They finally found a few things that this student was really unique at. They spent time together figuring it out. So they wrote it down on a piece of paper. And he said to him, "Here's what I want you to do." He says, "Tomorrow morning when you wake up, I want you to stand in front of the mirror and repeat this list of all the things that you do better than anybody else in your class. I want you to repeat it 20 times to yourself. Repeat it to yourself 20 times before you come to school. And if you want, you can come to my office and you can do it with me here. All right? But don't forget that these are your skills. These are your talents. These are the things that you're really, really special. This is where you stand out." And then they never had an issue with that student again. Never had an issue with him again. What was the problem? The problem is that he was overcrowded with everybody else. He never got the spotlight. Finally, someone took the time to see the good, what he's really talented at, climbing trees, and put a spotlight on it. He felt good. He felt valued. He felt that it was a game changer for him, because he felt that he was worth something. And the same is when we educate our children. We can knock our children all day long. That's not going to build them. We find what they're good at. We find where their skills are. We find where their talent is at, and you can build that child more than anything in the world by focusing on their quality, focusing on their good. And that's the key. The im yavo olav bekas, if you come with anger, they're not going to listen. But when you come with the good and you shine the positive light on their qualities, that's how they will accept. Mitzvah gedol lahachniflo. Such a person is a mitzvah to flatter them about their goodness. Kedei lahotzi yakar mizolel. The words of the wise, spoken gently, are heard. Ki yesh adam she'eno mekabel tochacha b'ge'ara ela benachas shenemar divrei chacham menachas nishmarim. There are those who don't accept words of rebuke unless they are pleasant words, which I believe our generation is that. Our generation, we used to be able to educate children with a stick. Not anymore. Today you can't do that. Children need love. Children need to be built up. It needs to be pleasant. There are those sometimes that need a little bit of a rebuke, a reprimand. Shenemar tachas ge'ara b'mevin. V'yesh b'malkos. Shenemar u'b'malumos legev ksilim. V'yesh afilu b'hakos lo yo'il. And there's some you can beat them and that's not going to help. Shenemar mehakos ksil me'o. My grandfather used to say that there's a halacha that says that when your child is at a certain age, over the age of 13, you're not allowed to hit them anymore. It's a halacha. It was written many hundreds of years ago. Why? Because it's going to be putting a stumbling block before the blind. Why? Because he's going to hit you back. And a child is not allowed to hit back the parent. What do you mean he's going to hit me back? My grandfather says today that age is 3 or under. No more hitting kids. In general, in our generation, it's unacceptable whatsoever to raise a hand, a parent to raise a hand on a child. Absolutely not. Any adult raising a hand on a child, absolutely unacceptable. Unacceptable whatsoever. Why? Because it's not going to help the child. It's not going to help whatsoever. It's going to harm the child. It's going to harm the relationship, and that child will rebel against their parent. And that rebellion will be giving the hit back to the parents, which would be a prohibition of hitting your parent. Shnema mehakos ksil meo. Im kein mana selo ein lo takono elo tigor sheu. He says, but what do you do if someone is not going to accept any form of reprimand? What's the remedy? He says you have to distance yourself from such a person. V'yesh chanifus ra meod. There's a different form of extremely evil kind of flattery. Kigon adam hamachnif l'chaveru u'midaber imo dvar mitukim k'dei sheyismoch olav v'yamin lo ve'achar sheyamin lo v'yismoch olav holech imo b'ramaus. He says a form of flattery which is evil and wicked is when someone tries to curry favor, build trust, only to then later cheat that person. So I'm sure we've all heard stories where someone would, be so reliable and they're like so trustworthy in business till the time came, and that's when they showed all of their trickery, and they showed how deceitful they were. V'zeh ki'inyan shenemar ki chinam mizora haroshes be'enei kol bal kanaf ve'hem l'dama ya'arovu yitzbinu l'nafshosam. Perish apostle kachu. He says this is the explanation to that verse from Proverbs. Ki atzayadim ofos zorkim chiti bereshes. He says the trappers scatter kernels in the net, which the birds come to eat, and they are trapped. So it is with this type of flatter. They bring the kernels, they throw them in the net, and then they catch them. Our sages forbade flattery. He says, V'chein im odom rotze liftoach chavis yain limkor uba chaver liknos yain lo yomer lo ani rotze liftoach chavis avurcha v'chol zeh v'kayotze b'zeh nikar gnevas das. He says, likewise, if one wishes to open so he gives a couple of examples here of forbidden flattery. One should not send his fellow man a gift if he knows that he will not accept it. One shall not call him to dine with him if he knows that he will not do so. Likewise, if one wishes to open up a keg of wine in order to sell it, and his friend comes to buy wine, he should not tell him, I want to open this keg for you. All this and everything like it is called stealing one's mind. It's called gnevas das, stealing one's intellect. Today we have laws of intellectual property, but the Talmud talks about this 2,000 years ago, about stealing one's intellect. Imagine the following scenario. This is one of my favorite stories about this topic. So, imagine you are waiting for a ride. You're waiting for someone to come pick you up. You're out by the mall. Hot day. It's really uncomfortably hot. Your friend calls you and he says, I'm sorry, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm going to be there in 15 minutes. So you look around, you're like, oh, there's a nice jewelry store right here. So you walk into the jewelry store. You're not planning on buying anything. You don't have the money to buy. You don't have the money to spend on it. You just want to cool the air conditioning till your friend shows up. So you walk in and they're so excited. They have a customer. They come running over. Is there any way I can help you? Is it something you want to see? Like, no, just looking around. That is stealing one's intellect. They think you're coming in because you want to look at their jewelry. Meanwhile, you're coming in for a totally different purpose. So what does someone need to do in order not to steal? You say, listen, actually, I was going to be waiting outside, but it's very hot. I was wondering, would it be okay if I stood inside? If they say, I'm sorry, it's for customers only. People do that with the restrooms sometimes, like, it's only for customers. That's understandable because they, whatever expense may be involved with that, they want it to be reserved for their customers. That's understandable. But they may not want you to be using their air conditioner. Even though you can come with a claim and say, well, what do you care? It doesn't cost you more money for me to enjoy the air conditioning and not be hot outside. That's a different argument, and that could be litigated privately. But the idea here is that you don't want to trick someone. It's trickery. It's a form of trickery. I really want the air conditioning. You think I'm a client. You get all excited. Oh, I'm going to make a sale. I'm going to get my commission finally. And really, you never even had any intention of buying anything. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Chalafta. Rabbi Shimon ben Chalafta said, Miyom shegover egrofa shel Chanufah, nisavsu hadinim v'niskalkalu amasim. From the day that the fist of flattery grew strong, laws were perverted, deeds were rendered defective, and one could say to his fellow man, my deeds are greater than yours. Right? And no one could say to his fellow man, my deeds are greater than yours. To which Rabbi Lazar called Adam sheyesh b'Chanufah mevi af la'olam. Anyone who has flattery within him brings wrath to the world, as the verse states. V'chanfei leiv yasimu af v'la'od ela she'ein tfilaso nishmas. And additionally, his prayers are not heard. His prayers are not heard. Why? Shenemar v'lo yishavu ki asram v'afilu ubarim shebeme'ei imam mikalkalim oso v'unofel begehenim. He says it really caused terrible things for one who is not honest. Now I want to tell you something about flattery. Any lawyers here in the group? So I have a bunch of friends who are lawyers, and they're all very, very good people. And one day I was on the phone with a friend of mine. He says, "Oh, I got to go because I have a lunch with a judge." I'm like, a lunch with a judge? That to me doesn't sound right, right? Why would a lawyer who represents clients who are either guilty, innocent, on one side of a case, the other side of a case, and he's sitting with the judge that's going to be hearing those cases? To me, it seems like a form of flattery. I'll take the judge out, and then I can sign up clients and get the cases dismissed because the judge is my friend. That's a form of flattery. Unfortunately, it's something which happens every single day. It happens in the world of law, where the judge and the lawyers are best friends. They go out for dinner together. They go out for lunch together. They go out for breakfast together, right? So how do you know that the laws are being adjudicated appropriately? Okay, so this is flattery is repulsive, and this is what the author here is impressing upon us: the repulsiveness of flattery. And finally, to finish off day number 132, therefore one should remove himself completely from flattery and not flatter someone to validate him in his evil, even if he stands to gain many favors from him. Don't tell him, you're a good guy, I like you, you're a nice guy. After all, I don't know why people give you a hard time. That's flattery, and that's not good. Even if he's going to give you a job now he's going to help me, he's going to support my institution, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. A person should not flatter someone who's wicked. If someone is not going in the proper path, don't kiss up to them, don't flatter them. Ki kama bnei adam omdim birisham mechamas sheroim she'ein lahem busha avur darkem hamchuaris va'avur sheroim shemachnifim lahem. So they might get the wrong idea because people are flattering them. They say, I'm not that bad after all, because if I was, they wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't say hello to me if I was such a bad guy. Ve'ein davar ba'olam hanoel pischei teshuvah kama chanifos. There's nothing that closes the doors of repentance more than flattery. Flattery has a terrible, terrible impact on a person and on his life. So this concludes day number 132.
You've been listening to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe on a podcast produced by Torch, the Torah Outreach Resource Center of Houston. Please help sponsor an episode so we can continue to produce more quality Jewish content for our listeners around the globe. please visit torchweb.org to donate and partner with us on this incredible endeavor.